Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not Too Comic Book. This being a show where we talk about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of Stargirl. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. Well, first and foremost, we got a little bit of backstory on understanding a little bit as to why Icicle is doing, we're learning a little bit, but not a lot. Basically, Icicle's wife had died, and basically she's like, when she was dying, like, promise me you continue doing your work, you'll make this country, you'll make a new America, and the fact is, and she even goes as far as saying you'll destroy anyone that gets in your way. And I thought that was so interesting. So like, she had to have known about his powers, him being part of the Injustice Society of America. It had to be a thing of like, I know what you're doing, like you're doing whatever it takes to make this country better. So that's the thing of like, I think it's one of those things where it's a major overcorrection. You're going to do a major overhaul. No matter who you have to kill, as long as you're creating this utopia, all sacrifices are necessary for making a better world for everyone, for their child, for everyone. So I just thought that was but it's like, the fact is, it's so, once again, it's the whole interesting thing about villains having kids. I mean, it's just so interesting because it's like, or at least even just having a family, that the fact of the matter is his wife was on board with what he's doing because I guess she saw the vision he had. Once again, will make you also realize like, you would assume that line of talk that she did know, in fact, that he was Icicle, that, what Jordan's plan was, and it would involve killing more people. I mean, that was like 8 years ago, so that was like 2 years after him and the rest of the Injustice Society had already killed everyone in the Justice Society of America, so. And then the question becomes, his son was there witnessing him, like, letting go all his anger and stuff, and erupting in his powers, like freezing, like, that garden. And it's like, his son witnessed that, but it's like, maybe his son just chalked it up to, I was a little kid, so maybe I was just imagining things. Maybe I saw something I didn't, or maybe he does. Like, it begs a question. So, obviously, current day, it is a situation of, obviously, Courtney's like, okay, we need to find the rest of the Injustice Society. We already took out Brainwave. Let's find the others. Obviously, Pat's like, no. The fact of the matter is this could get you hurt, because obviously he cares about Courtney, and it's just like, this isn't kind of a game. Like, the fact is, we're both newbies at this, like, superhero thing. Like, he's been a psychic for so long, so stepping into the role of kind of a hero, kind of more out in the front lines, because granted, we still don't 100% know all that he did as Stripesy, back in the day. But for him, he just doesn't want, he doesn't want Courtney mixed up in all of this. So he's just telling her, just live her life, just live a normal life, So she goes to school. Obviously, it's like, oh yeah, there's the damage to that sign I caused last episode. Like, let me just keep walking. And so there's also, we meet, obviously you continue, they're with William's son Joey, him doing the magic tricks and everything, and then him showing them like, oh, this is what you do, you keep them distracted and stuff like that. I'm like, it's so interesting because obviously you mess with real magic, so to be teaching your son kind of like almost like quote unquote parlor tricks is just kind of interesting. Or maybe the argument could be that's just him getting stronger, like where I get the feeling like I brought up before, Brainwave's son, like I'm sure Henry Jr. is eventually going to get powers like Brainwave, like because those abilities seem to be hereditary. So I'm assuming like Joe, like I mean, it was like, oh, because even Joey says that like a line later on where he's like, oh, I just feel like something's growing in him, and I'm like, oh, his powers are developing, like he's getting closer to it. But regardless, obviously Jordan's trying to get in contact with William, but William's avoiding his calls because William, like, despite being a part of this all, William, and even Jordan says it later on, William seems to be, he's always been the most reluctant. Like, he's always kind of had one foot out, because for him, it's like his family always comes first. So it's like, I'm putting my family first before I'm doing anything else, So Jordan obviously didn't appreciate him saying that. Well, at first it seemed like Jordan did it. He was like, oh, that's all that matters. The fact is, you love your son that much that at the end of the day, it's all that matters, I'm curious about that, but we'll get to that soon enough. So the fact of the matter is, obviously Courtney's trying to do her normal school life, but then she sees like Yolanda being kind of treated like shit. Like she had the word slut written on her locker, and obviously she wants to help out, but Yolanda won't let her. There's also the Joey card trick. Like, he ended up getting the wrong card for her, but she's like, yeah, you totally got it right. But Cameron was standing behind her, and she saw what she did, like lying about what card she had. So, but later on when they walk past, like, obviously the mean girls are giving her shit, being like, oh yeah, like, oh, did you cover up the word slut because someone had drawn on it? And it's not till later on when Courtney's looking at it in class being like, it was you that drew on Yolanda's locker. The moment we see the drawings and stuff like that, I'm like, that's Icicle's kid, because they made a point of like him drawing flowers and stuff like that because for his dying mom, and so for it to be like pretty flowers drawn on her locker, I figured it had to be her. And obviously Courtney tried to stand up for her, but Yolanda's like, you make things harder for me and for yourself, so just kind of drop it. But it's just like, apparently it's because like, oh, you tried to go out with Henry even though he was like dating me or something, or you knew there was a thing between us, so it's like, yeah, your family knows what you are, slut, whatever. It's just like, Jesus, like, so. And I think that's already showing you right then and there what kind of person. I mean, it was kind of clear from episode 1 what kind of person Courtney is. She won't sit idly by when there's some injustice happening. You know, she wants to do whatever she can to help people. It's like, yeah, these people aren't people she really knows. They're not necessarily friends. But the fact of the matter is, she sees something going wrong. Like, something inside of her is like, I got to step in. I got to do the right thing. You know, so... But obviously, as she's leaving, like, she comes across a frozen star on the ground. She comes to tell Pat, because Pat kind of made discoveries on his own. Because it's like, oh man, yeah, Henry, yeah, I'm a friend of Henry's. Yeah, what happened to him? It's like, oh, seizure. I mean, hope he gets better. What happened to him? You found him? Oh yeah, you found him. What was he wearing? His little coat. And I was like, oh. And then like in that moment, the moment she said that, it clicked to him, because it clicked to me. I was like, well, yeah, when they dropped him off. He wasn't, no, were they, because I was under the impression they're the ones that dropped him off at the hospital, but I don't think they were. They just kind of left him where he was, but it turns out like he wasn't in his villain uniform, so it's like someone changed him. So it's like, in that moment, Pat's like, he's not alone. And then we find out it was actually William. He's like, the fact of the matter is, like, I shouldn't be held to responsible for whatever it is that Brainwave did on its own. He's like, yeah, but you should have called me. It's like, well, he said you called him. And it's like, yes, he did, but why didn't you? Because he was supposed to be the one that's kind of leader, but he was kind of letting a lot of that stuff fall to the wayside, because for him, it's that thing of like, yes, they had their evil ambitions and stuff like that, but he had a normal life. He had a family. He had a wife and child. He didn't want that life anymore. So it's just, that's why he wanted nothing to do with it. He just wanted to enjoy the life that he had. He didn't want to take any chance of jeopardizing it. It's just kind of like he wanted out, but I guess he could just, it's not the type of thing you like just walk away from. So he was just kind of idling in between, like, you know, being out while also still being a part of it and everything. But nevertheless, obviously, Icicle has set his sights on going after Stargirl, and obviously they clash. It's a pretty one-sided. I mean, he still has the upper hand the entire time. He takes Stripe out of commission, and it's so interesting, like, because at one point and it's interesting how I guess because the staff needs to, like, I guess when it was frozen, like, either his powers do something to the staff, like maybe like the staff generates its power by generating heat, but because he freezes the parts of the staff, like, it couldn't generate the power it needs, or it might be because it needs direct contact from her hands, and well, because part of the staff was frozen, so maybe she couldn't, the connection between them was being blocked by the ice. I don't know on a technical level what happened. I think it might be just that maybe it generates its energy and it just couldn't generate the energy because the code was kind of keeping it from building up heat or whatever. But Rocket Punch sends him flying across the water onto the bridge. School bus full of kids, and I'm like, this isn't going to be good. Luckily, you know, Pat was able to get free. Stripe ends up stopping the bus from falling, and I love that only the person who saw it was Joey. And I thought after, I was like, oh, Joey's going to go running off and be like, oh my god, it was a giant robot. It was the craziest thing. Because they're like, oh, other kids were like, oh, what happened? And no one saw what happened. And it's like, luckily, it's like, okay, that saved the day. But Icicle performs with one last thing. He blows like the wind and knocks Joey's card out of his hand, and as he's running in to go catch it, a car comes by. It can't stop fast enough because of the ice and everything. Joey gets hit. I'm like, did you not know you killed William? It's like, no, you had to know that was William's kid. So, and that was the thing. Like, when William finds out about his son, it's like, no, Joey. I was like, did Joey get hurt? Did he die? It's like, nope, he died. I was like, Jesus. And so, you know, William grabbed his wand and he goes over and he's, you know, it's like, tell me it was an accident. He's like, no, I did it on purpose because it was to make a point. I'm not 100% sure the point, but I guess it's a thing of like, you aren't fully invested in this, and I don't know. Maybe, I guess it was a point to show, like, you know, sacrifices have to be made for this, and the fact, like, I don't know, like I said, I'm still trying to understand why he did what he did. Like, because at first I thought, like, it was supposed supposed to, I guess because once again, William wasn't going to jump into action. This whole thing was about their children and everything. Or maybe the point is, yes, our children are important. They're not the most important thing. This is important because it's about our children's future, but you've let it slide because it's not just us putting our children first. It's about putting everyone's children first, making this country better for everyone. So I think maybe that's the point of you putting your child above even our mission. Like, it should be kind of going a little hand in hand, but it's like, no, the most important thing is your child. I think that might be the justification. I mean, not like any of it's justified in him killing, William's kid like that, but it just makes me wonder. I don't know. And obviously for Courtney, it shakes her to her core because it's like, that's the first time she's ever seen anyone she knows die. So it's a situation of like, Joey was a sweet kid, and for Icicle to do that to him. So Pat shows her the Justice Society of America Hall, and I could not remember what the other hero was that I was forgetting that I recognized. I was like, holy shit, Dr. Fate, which is interesting because obviously the helmet is what's sentient and stuff like that. But obviously you see it, obviously like there's the Flash's helmet, Jay Garrett's helmet, and everything, and Dr. Fate's helmet's over there, which I'm like, that's probably something they're not going to tackle. It's like they're going to get other people that join this society, like the Justice Society of America, probably not a doctor, because the helmet's super picky, so I'm sure that'd be just, I'm curious to see if that's going to be something eventually, because it's like, there are other speedsters, so who knows? Once again, this is a new Earth 2, so it's not even the Earth 2 we knew before. Because Earth 2 didn't actually have a Flash, did it? Because Barry wasn't the Flash on Earth 2. It had a Zoom. Because Jay is from... the real Jay Garrett was from Earth 3. So it begs the question. It has to be... obviously, it's like a new Earth 2. So it's like... so obviously post-crisis and everything, so things are different on this Earth because it's a different Earth, regardless, tangent and all that. But that's why I was just like, there probably aren't any other speedsters on this Earth. There might be. Like, ain't no one going to take... You have to be... It's not just, I take the helmet. Like, it's not just like, with the Dr. Fate thing, I take the helmet and gain the powers. It's like, can't do that with Jay Garrett. You can't become the Flash like that. So I'm like, I'm curious to see if that's something that ever bother tackling. Just because the Flash as a show already exists, that might not be something they tackle. Just because these other characters in particular haven't really had their chance to shine live action wise. That's why I'm getting the feeling. Because we have seen Dr. Fate live action wise on Smallville, so I don't know. It's stuff crossing my mind. Like, I'm going on a tangent and stuff like that. But obviously for Pat, it was meant to be an awakening for like Courtney's like, this is what we're mixed up in. The fact is, yes, Joey was an innocent kid. That's why we should stay out of this, because he was some kid that died. And look at this. These are all my friends. They were like family to me, and they're all dead. That's the price you pay for doing this hero thing. But for Courtney, she's like, the fact is that Joey was some kid is even more reason for us not to give up. It's more reason for us to fight. So it's like, yeah, like these people are gone, but like, all that stuff is here. Why don't we fill out the ranks? And it's like, it's her idea. And obviously for him, it's like, yeah, like obviously these heroes weren't like the major heroes they eventually became from the very beginning. Obviously they had some bumpy roads. They were amateurs at the beginning, but it's like it took years of training, and even then they couldn't defeat the Injustice Society. You want to bring in amateurs in, because like obviously for Pat, he doesn't want more blood on his hands, especially if it also means Courtney. Like once again, he cares about Courtney. He doesn't want her to die. That's his stepdaughter, sure, but still, Which is also, he's got like this micro storyline with the whole like Mike situation, because he did something at school and just like, he's kind of off. I like the way they just set up his story just to be like Mike's kind of in his own world or whatever, kind of doing his own thing. Barbara, obviously, interestingly enough, it's not just Steven at work now. It's like, hey, Jordan's here. And obviously it seems like Barbara and Jordan are going to become close, because she's like, oh yeah, movie theater. It was like, oh, theater, and all that stuff. It was like, it, gathered a lot of people. And obviously Jordan's like, oh, no, that's actually a good idea, because I guess, once again, Blue Valley, because Jordan talked about the fact is he went across the entire U.S. because for him, his main thing was getting revenge. Like, because I was like, who you want to get back? He told his wife, like, when she was dying, like, he's going to get back at everyone, that the world, because of what they did to her. But it's like something toxic, I guess, like, factories or whatever, like something toxic ended up poisoning his wife. So basically he killed anyone that had anything to do with it, while also going around being like, oh, look at these small towns that are so forgotten. A lot of values that like are so true to the American way that are lost, that he feels like Barbara still believes in, kind of like that coming together in that community, and he feels like a lot of that's lost. So it's weird to see a villain who is in their mind altruistic, when in actuality it's a very warped altruism, so it's just interesting. Like, I feel like we're only scratching at the surface, but you kind of understand the motives, but it's just like what the exact plan is of like how you plan on making a project New America, which is even interesting because it turns out his parents are involved in it, because when he killed William, which even I was shocked, I was like, oh, I thought you were going to try and convince him, like, oh, I want you to take all this pay. I thought maybe he'd even lie, manipulate situation. It wasn't me. It's because of Stargirl. And like use him like that. It's like, no, you even admit it, like, oh, I did it. And then you freeze him. And it's like, oh, wow. I mean, to be fair, he was not fully invested in this. And that's why, once again, I believe William died. I think that's why Jordan killed him. And that's so sad that like now his William's wife literally lost her son and her husband like back to back like that. It's such a short amount of time. It's like, that's heartbreaking, and I'm sure he's going to show up and like, oh yeah, my condolences for your loss and stuff like that. It's crazy. And at the same time, like the whole situation with Courtney going back to the Justice Society and like snatching up all those tools and stuff like that, because now she's going to go recruit. It's so interesting to see that her to be like, oh, I'm gonna make the team. And it's so interesting because this is the fastest we've ever had a team get built up in one of these shows, like in any show. Like, I mean, because it took a while for even the Titans to become the Titans. I mean, to be fair, the Doom Patrol was kind of the Doom Patrol, but they were just kind of, oh, we're all like people here in this house. Like no other like DC show, it had like the squad put together kind of like that, I guess the closest thing would be Legends. That was built together during a crossover. But even then, it's just, I don't know, it's just such a very unique situation of like, oh, let me put this, like, oh, I'm putting this team together and everything. So I'm curious who are going to be the people she ends up picking. Because, like, some of that, like, for example, Wildcat was just, he's just a fighter. So it's like, who you want to get to pick up that mantle? It's just like, it's not like the staff chose her. It's not going to be like that with all that stuff. Some of that stuff, sure, but not all of it. So it begs the question, like, what's that all going to look like? And obviously she's going to be doing this behind Pat's back. So I'm really interested to ultimately see, like, where all this ends up taking us going forward. Like, once again, like the whole villainy thing being a family affair, except for when it comes to William, because William's family it seems like his family had no idea about it. Seemed like Henry's family has no idea about it, because at least his son doesn't seem like he knows about it. But like I said, this could be the stages of like, because also, like I said, if this is all hereditary, Henry will have abilities like, because like obviously he was there and then like all of a sudden the cup started moving. I'm like, was that brainwave doing it even in a coma state that he's in? The fact is he was still able to do that, or was that supposed to be Henry Jr.? Then what does that mean about Cameron? Well, does he display the same abilities as his dad? Questions like that, like, it's interesting. So we'll ultimately have to wait and see where all of this ends up taking us going forward into this next episode. But really, that's all I want to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.